Hey, today I'm going to talk about the 6 things that you should know about nutrition labels. Now, when you go to the grocery store, there's tons of information presented to you in the food labels, so it can be quite overwhelming if you don't know where to start. And even worse, some of this information is presented in a way that it's really meant to confuse us. But if we don't take the time to understand how to read these food labels, we could end up making unhealthy choices without even knowing. So, I'm a family physician, and let's talk about the 6 things you need to know about reading nutrition labels. Number 1, learn to read the serving size. Now, this may seem obvious, but the serving size listed on the food label is usually much smaller than what we actually consume when we eat that particular food. So, for example, on a bag of chips, they will list the serving size as maybe 10 chips, right? But how many people eats just 10 chips? Usually, we're going to eat the whole bag. So, when you're looking at the nutrition information on the food label, keep in mind that they're giving you the information per the serving size, which is usually much less than what most people are going to consume when they purchase that food. So, what you need to do is after you look at the calories and all the nutrients listed on the label per that serving size, then you need to multiply that by the number of servings that you're actually going to eat. Because if you just look at the total calories or total fat or total sugar listed at the bottom of the nutrition label, those are based on the entire package, which again, like I said, for most people is going to be a lot more than they're actually listing as the serving size. Number 2, watch out for added sugars. You see, sugar can be added to processed food in many different forms. So, when we look at the ingredient list, we have to be on the lookout for many different names of sugar that may be hiding in the ingredient list. And so, the first thing you want to do is look at the ingredient list and see if there's any type of sugar listed within the first 3 ingredients. If there is, then you're definitely going to want to choose a different food option, because that means that that particular food has a lot of added sugar. Also, here's a list of all the different names of sugar that can be hiding in the ingredient list. And so, if you see any one of these names within the first 3 ingredients, again, that means that it has a lot of added sugar. And the worst thing about added sugar is that it doesn't fill you up. So it doesn't have any satiety. It doesn't have any nutrients. It's basically empty calories that are contributing to a lot of health problems that we're seeing more and more with processed foods and ultra-processed foods. And the reason why companies add sugar to food is because we innately crave sugar. We love the taste of sugar, and so they're banking on the fact that you're going to eat a lot of their product if they put a lot of sugar in it. But it's our job as the consumer to not fall for that trap, and to look at the ingredient list and make sure that we're choosing foods that don't have a lot of added sugar. Number 3, watch out for sodium. So, most packaged processed foods are going to have a lot of sodium in them. And too much sodium in your diet can lead to high blood pressure, can lead to kidney disease, and also can lead to heart disease. So, the American Heart Association recommends no more than 2,300 mg of sodium per day. But the problem is most people consume way more than that. And so, what you need to do is watch out for the sodium content on the food label. And here's a list of the foods that typically have the highest amount of sodium. And you'll notice that all of these foods are ultra-processed foods. They're convenience foods. They're foods that you don't have to prepare, right? These are the types of foods that most of the time when you go to a grocery store, you're just kind of walking through the aisles. You're not really looking at the food labels. But you definitely need to start paying attention to these ultra-processed foods because they are loaded with sodium. Number 4, watch out for unhealthy fats. Now, fats are essential in our diet. We need fats, but we need the healthy types of fats. The 2 types of fats that we really want to avoid are trans fats and saturated fats. And so, when you look at the food label, you'll see this listed under the type of fat. Now, trans fats used to be very common in a lot of packaged baked goods and fried foods, but nowadays they're becoming less common because they're so unhealthy. Trans fats increase your risk of heart disease, increase your risk of diabetes, and also increase your risk of strokes. So, we really want to avoid trans fats. Saturated fats we also want to limit in our diet. Saturated fats are usually solid at room temperature. And so, foods that are high in saturated fats would be things like butter, lard, palm oil, coconut oil, things like that. Now, we can consume these, but we need to consume them in moderation because consuming too much of these types of fats can lead to high cholesterol, can lead to heart disease, and also can lead to strokes. So, just be mindful of the types of fats that are listed on the food label. Number 5. Choose foods with higher fiber. Now, when we look at the nutrition label, we can see the amount of total fiber that's in that particular food. And we want to choose foods that have a lot of fiber in them, because fiber helps you to feel full. It helps to prevent constipation. It prevents diverticulitis. It can help you maintain a healthy weight. And so, the recommendation for adults is to get at least 25 to 30 grams of fiber every day. So, when you're choosing foods at the grocery store, you want to choose foods that have a good amount of fiber. For example, if you're looking at cereal, choose the cereal that has 3 or more grams of fiber per serving. Also, fruits and vegetables obviously are great sources of fiber. Beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, and whole grains are also great sources of fiber. And number 6, choose foods that are higher in nutrient density. Now, nutrient-dense foods are foods that have a lot of vitamins and minerals and other beneficial nutrients for relatively few calories. A great example of this would be salmon. Salmon has a lot of protein, has a lot of omega-3 fatty acids, has vitamin D, has B vitamins, and it doesn't have a lot of calories. Another great example would be chicken. Chicken has a lot of protein, doesn't have a lot of calories. It's low in fat. It has a lot of selenium. It has a lot of B vitamins. It's a great source of phosphorus. Beef is another great example of a nutrient-dense food. So, when you're at the grocery store, try to choose foods that are higher in nutrient density. One way to do that would be to stay primarily in the produce section, the meat section, and the seafood section. That's where you're going to find the most nutrient-dense foods. The further you venture away from those sections into the inner aisles of the grocery store, the more processed the foods are going to be, the lower the nutrient density is going to be, and the more that you're going to be paying for packaging and marketing rather than actual nutrients. The last thing I'll say is use the labels to compare products. So, when you go to the grocery store, there's hundreds of different options for pretty much everything that you're going to buy. So, for example, there's probably 20 different options of cereal at the grocery store. There's probably 15 or 20 different options for oatmeal. So, use the food labels to compare and contrast the different products and choose the one that has the healthiest food label. Again, mainly by watching out for the unhealthy fats, watching out for the sodium, and watching out for the added sugar. I hope that this video helped you to understand how to read the nutrition labels at the grocery store. Please like and share if you think this will help someone else. And I'll see you next time.